All right, bunch of Overwatch news. Let's get into it. 6v6 changes, lifeguard skins. Let's see, new game Spectre Divine coming out. Yeah, if you were like me, we only played Rivals the last 2 weeks, and I have no idea what's going on in anything else. So, yeah. Go ahead, get into it, see what's going on in the world of gaming and Overwatch, because 6v6 comes back. We want that as a tank player. But first of all, you know, let's go look at the lifeguard skins, because Overwatch knows what they're doing with skins. Okay, there's a Pharah, a nice Roadhog. Should I just equip all of these? Honestly, I don't really like this one. Roadhog. He's looking pretty funny. We'll equip that one, sure. Beach Mercy. I think I have the mythic one added, so maybe I don't need this one. See, Lifeguard Kiriko, though. Dude, honestly, they give Kiri all the best skins. Those are pretty good ones. Let's see, in Lifeweaver. Okay, I kind of like how they did the water petals. It's kind of sick. Check the hand size for... Oh, wait. Yo, wait, her hand is like the size of her whole body. Wait, what? Wait a second. Wait, what's going on here? What is going on here? Dude, her hand is the size of her whole head. Got the Sasquatch hands going on. Okay. Well then, I mean, you have to have strong hand movement to throw all your little freaking little pieces of paper at people, right? Got to be like Gambit throwing the cards. Okay, wait, they even have music with this? Okay, that's pretty great. Yeah, I'm equipping all of these. Even though, okay, Kiri play of the game, sure. Hogging a play of the game. Lifeweaver play of the game, though. I feel like you're never getting those. Ooh. These game cards aren't bad. Nothing's ever going to beat this one. They need icons. I got some icons. I'd probably use those. So definitely the best Lifeweaver skin. Yeah, they did a good job on these. That's why, like, every like new skin they add, they need to have like different like particle effects. It'd be great if they like changed the abilities, maybe the sounds, like how Valorant does, and then it makes like ones that cost a lot more, like you'd want to buy them and you're like, oh yeah, this is good value for my money, right? Not just like some recolor that has no real use. Doesn't really have that much of a difference. But all right, there you go. There's all the lifeguard skins. Yeah, always do a pretty good job on these ones. Kiri, gigantic hands. There you go. That's the biggest takeaway from these skins. But all right, let's go ahead and head over into 6v6. All right. Bang, bang. YouTube, swap over. Huge changes. Take this away from the top. Load it up. Let's go see if your Overwatch has a solid video on this.
What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for
So we do not need to watch over the whole dev update that is 2 hours long. So
for Overwatch, the Group Up podcast interviewed the two most prominent Overwatch 2 developers yesterday. Aaron Keller, which most of you should know is the game director, but also Alec Dawson, who's not only the lead hero designer, but now is also the lead gameplay designer, which I think we now may know more of what that means, having seen him do things under that position, as well as talk about what we'll see longer term. This is a very different vision to Overwatch than we've seen before, and the sky's kind of the limit on what they're willing to do. I'll go through summarizing what was said.
Do you guys want 6v6 back? I mean, I think Overwatch is not doing great in 5v5 with people coming back to the game, retention. So if they just go the route of letting people have fun while playing the game, I think that's probably the best, because let's be real, Overwatch esports is pretty much done as well. That is pretty much pointless. No orgs and all that stuff is really going to come into the game. The only reason why a lot of the orgs are going to the game now is because they have like the Saudi League and stuff doing tournaments. But
said in the interview, highlighting the key takeaways of what we can expect looking into the future of the game, as well as discuss some of my thoughts on where they're going. The first point was on rebuilding the reputation of Overwatch. Aaron Keller said that they believe they're only as good as your last release, meaning they have to just continuously update, do more things, and try what they're calling big swings. That's a term they used a few times in the interview, alluding to bigger systems, more complicated features, things that are outside of the regular cadence of maps and heroes. They did portray some confidence, albeit I'll say in a bit of an understated way, because remember, this is largely a new team that inherited Overwatch 1, transitioning it in many ways towards a more competitive game as well as a free-to-play, always on, always updating type title. Alex says they feel like the new team is getting better. I think perhaps pointing to Juno, who is one of the new designed heroes that seems...
Okay, they did do a good job on Juno. I'll agree, like, Juno at least feels like a 5v5 character, because she has, like, the high movement abilities. It's fun to play. The abilities all seem, like, pretty impactful, right? So I think they did a pretty good job on the Juno kit. You can't really get play of the games very much, I don't think, with her, but I mean, like, overall, with all the abilities and stuff like that, I think they did a great job.
Seems to be getting universal acclaim, but also pinpointing a map like Runasapi, the new push map, which is designed with a lot of the early lessons they learned from that game mode when it was a bit simpler back in the day. Then, of course, applying those lessons to the map reworks. Certainly, Colosseo being more opened up has really helped gameplay on that map. They talked about the identity of the game.
They give her headshot abilities. No, there's still no headshot damage, but I mean, the character isn't released, so that we only had the playtest for those like 3 days. So yeah, I mean, they could make changes by the time that comes out. I think I also have like a overall tips and tricks video that I never uploaded to YouTube after like the day of coming out. Or at the end of it, so probably not putting that up before the end of the season, just so you guys know how to play Juno if that's what you want.
While it's not as casual as Mario Party, it isn't entirely competitive either, and especially as we get through some of the types of things they're willing to look at down the line, I think we really get that blend of how they're looking to service both interests. Aaron goes on to say that the right decision can change from time to time, as in they felt like it was right to launch Overwatch 1 with the open queue format, where it was a lot more zany, casual, fitting the player base that they had at the time, but it also was the case that they did need to work towards role queue. I'm not a fan of them using this type of wording because it's a convenient way for them to always be right. Well, how could we ever be wrong if the right thing changes fluidly whenever we want it to? Right, okay. But of course, the general philosophy is correct. They have to make decisions and change based on the audience they have, which is why we're going down the route to maybe make the game even more complicated, whether that is 6v6 or with all of these extra additions that they're floating. They expanded out and gave some examples of the things they're thinking about. We can organize this based on understanding they're looking to increase both the strategic depth and the individual player agency. Pickable passives was like a small version of that.
Okay, pickable passives was pretty cool. That added like another level of like spice to the game. So I'm okay if they put those in there. Of course, some of them need to be like tweaked and stuff, but I think pickable passives was pretty nice. They need to add hero bands. Like they should have done this like 5 seasons ago, right? There's no reason for them not to have added hero bands. Map bands, I'd say, is not really that necessary. If they want to just do one and then do the work on the other one later, like hero bands need to be ASAP, and then they can look to do like, you know, maps or just leave the maps up to random. I don't mind.
Less a system they were trying to implement and more of a test to try to gain feedback on how players interact with making those types of choices. I was excited to hear that they actually have tested the individual heroes' passives. To the extent people were interested in the pickable passives, it seemed a lot of people had the same take as me that if we're going to do them, it should be hero specific, and they seem to already have been testing that. Alex,
yeah, the hero specific, yeah, more with 20% cooldown was just obnoxious. Yeah, well, I mean, they have all from if they were working on PvE, right? They literally had all those random ass abilities and like passives and stuff probably done if they were working on it for every single character, so they could just probably have so like all the stuff is probably already pre-done. Like they just have to go add some of those into the game for hero like passives, and then yeah, just probably tweak it a little bit to actually be, you know, not broken as shit. But yeah, specific hero passives definitely way better than like global ones, because certain heroes benefit way more than others on stuff.
Talks about things that are both more competitive than ranked, but also less serious than the modes we currently have. He gave more concrete examples for the tryhardy things that we already know about. Maybe just like touching base on this, considering we've been talking about the next series of things for years now. That's a little triggering for me, but they're talking more seriously now about map voting, hero bans, and tournaments. Yeah. Whereas before he said that when they spoke about these, it was more of a nice thing that they might try to get to eventually soon TM. Now that seems to be on a more realistic timetable, like it's in play, as opposed to an aspirational stretch goal, especially since the competitive game is kind of all we got. There's not a big PvE game lurking in the back. And it's been a while that that's been the case, hasn't it? So let's see some of these things, shall we? Of course, aside from that, they're looking for big bets they can take, and maybe even things that expose Overwatch outside of the regular realm of players that they already appeal to.
No, we're watching a 6v6 video, so I don't have to watch and read all of the dev updates. Since I want to know what's going on with all that stuff that happened while we were playing Rivals for the last 2 weeks.
Which, of course, you know, was the PvE idea, or a TV show, or even more casual modes, let's say. They seem to make it clear that they're looking to make it a priority to enhance the social experience of the game. Does that mean clans eventually? They didn't say that to finish the bingo card. They go on to agree that quick play is too sweaty, and they're going to look to try to rein that in a bit somehow, because they want...
Quick play is too sweaty. Bro, that's just like the people that sweat in quick play, like, dude, I literally play quick play and I will troll on Junkrat if I want to do that. I'm going on the flank with Rhine Shatter or something. Like, dude, like, quick play is not meant to be serious. If people want to be super serious and get pissed that people are playing quick play serious, like, dude, like, just play comp. Like, if some people don't load up quick play and want to try their asses off, like, there's no way. If you're one of those people that get pissed off at a quick play match because somebody's not trying hard, dude, then go play comp. And then you can get pissed. Like, people play quick play, they get home from their 9 to 5, yo, their baby's crying in the corner, like, they just get up and go tend to the baby, you know? Like, it is not that serious. It's literally quick play for a reason. Like, who gives a crap?
Want it to feel like a pickup game and not as try-hardy as ranked, and those lines can be blurred a little bit. They don't seem confident that simply adding a extra unranked or less sweaty queue will do much. So who knows what they're going to do to solve that. They talk about counter-picking, and on one hand, do state that
yeah, okay, I'm interested to see about counter-picking, because this is why 5v5 is not fun as a tank player, because it's literally, you load into a ranked game, and it's, all right, we're countering the enemy tank. And if the enemy tank does not swap, then they lose. You want to play Winston? Nah, bro, you're playing against Reaper, Bastion, everything. Oh, you wanted to go Sigma? Okay, now we're going to get a Sombra and counter you, so you're going to have to swap something else. Oh, yo, you want to go... like, it's literally just counterpick the tank. And that's why 5v5 is not as fun for tank players. Which is why 6v6 is intriguing, because then you can't counterpick the tanks, because then you have another tank to help you no matter what. So
it is a skill check in the game, and even goes so far to say they never want hero lock. Never is a strong word. And whereas the old Overwatch team might say never on a few things, they said never on no limits, which did not last long. They do want fluid hero swapping in the game, but I've tested with some ideas to maybe earn your swaps or limiting them. As time goes on and the hero roster gets bigger, I dislike hero swapping more and more because the number of mechanics that any player has to keep in mind could be in their game at any given time is overwhelming. But perhaps there's a middle point here. He gave a few interesting stats on hero swap.
Well, okay. If they want to take away for like hero like swaps and like not limit the amount of heroes, that you just add freaking bans. That's literally all you have to do. Like, oh, each team has 3 bans. Now that's like 6 heroes, you know, gone or whatever that you don't have to worry about playing against. Like, I think Overwatch is unique because you can do the swapping. So it's like, as much as I hate getting counter swapped, I think that's the whole point of the game, is to like, oh, you're losing in the mirror. Okay, let's swap and try something else to, you know, beat the enemy team. Like, I think that's like what makes Overwatch is the like being able to swap into certain things. So they just need to add bans, and then the bans will fix not like playing against too many things and, you know, all of that. So I don't think they ever should take away being able to swap mid game, because that's just is the whole point of like what makes Overwatch.
Swapping. He said it happens most in Platinum Diamond, almost never in Bronze.
Like, no, definitely not weekly bans. They already tried that. Do not leave bans up to the devs or make it some AI generated like random bans. They literally did that, and they're like, oh, today we rolled the dice and Ana, Baptiste, and Lucio are all banned. Oh shit, dude, it was only all 3 of the main supports. So this game, this round, there's no healers for the tanks. And it's like, okay, then this one is all the hit scanner banned. Oh, wow. So now Pharah is just OP. Like, they literally did their bans, and it was the worst thing they could have, like, possibly done. Like, just have everybody load in. Like, literally Marvel Rivals has this already, so there's no way. Like, you load them into the game, everybody picks a person to ban, and depending on how many times that person got banned, there's a percentage there. Okay, so if it's like 50% Winston, 50% Ryan that your teammate banned, then it's okay. The game can choose between one of those two for that ban in that like section or whatever. So it's like everybody just selects the person they want banned, and depending on how many people select that, then it's like the most selected gets banned from that team. Like, that's literally the most easy and simple way. Like, League does this as well. There's no reason they can't add this. You know, it's like, yeah, ridiculous.
And less so at the higher tiers because maybe there's more one tricks. On average, tank and DPS players.
Dude, screw the one tricks. Learn a different hero, man. That's their fault. If you go into a game and you only want to play one character and you're in comp, dude, expect to get like counter banned. Like, I don't care, man. Learn another one.
Swap the same amount, about once per game,
for you,
which again is just an average. But the surprising stat was that support players swap about half of that amount of time, which I think is absolutely nuts. And if you want evidence that our community doesn't know how to actually swap around the game,
90%
that
is
would be
tanks
it.
getting swapped 24/7.
Support is my highest tiered role, and I definitely swap in order to fix or counter the enemy all the time. It's really easy, very powerful, and apparently the community doesn't know how powerful that is. I think the reason is a combination of either the social pressure, but also the ignorance of the player base. As in, it's easy to play support and kind of vaguely be in the back and somehow point the finger at someone else that they need to do more. Meanwhile, you have all of the mechanics in your...
I just think most of the support characters, you can play around like any of like the DPS and things. Of course, if you have like an Echo Pharah, you probably do not want to play Baptiste because you're not going to be able to heal them out of the sky. So those are like those like certain cases. But for the most part, like, you can play most supports and get value with any of the hero roster. It's literally just like the tanks that have to be the ones to swap depending on like what DPS and support you're running. Like, it's literally only the tank's job to swap in like the current like stuff, which is unfortunate, but that's just how it is.
Your role to adjust to the situation, but somehow it's not so simple, I guess, where it's like, well, I can go this DPS to counter the tank, or I can go this tank to counter the tank. Meanwhile, the supports influence it just as much as any of the other roles, and I would say even more so because a lot of their mechanics are actually easier than some of the DPS or tank mechanics. but maybe that's just one man's opinion. But hey, don't take my word for it. You can send in your replay code still for Season 11 into the link below for the Google Form submission page. I've still been in the collection and curation process. I think my next goal is to make even better, more complete guides, which is something I haven't done in a while, pretty much in the sequel. And I think those will really help you guys out. There's a lot of game knowledge that is lacking in our community, and I think it's been due to the TikTok understanding that it seems our player base has for Overwatch 2 5v5.
I agree.
Speaking of support changes, Lifeweaver is getting changes in the next season, which I don't know if he just means balance or some playstyle adjustments. Okay. We'll see. Hopefully some offensive play would be nice. Now, they go into more depth to talk about hybrid role queue. This is something they teased in the 6v6 developer blog. One idea might be a max 2 format, which already is a thing you can do in custom games, which basically means you load in and whoever selects a role kind of gets it first. But the odd idea, which I found a bit surprising, is that maybe they could have the team comps dynamically flex in 5v5, as in you might have one of any of the 3 roles, one tank or one damage or one support. And the way that they would offset that is maybe give that individual player somehow a bonus, added stats and power to compensate for being the one player in that role. Maybe a simple way would be a general stat boost and some added passives. Kind of a crazy...
I don't think they should give that one player extra bonus. Like, sure, they can have everybody queue up as like their role, and you can have one person queue up as like a flex, and then it's just that person can pick any of the roles and do that. But they shouldn't get bonus stats and become like a god because they're doing like the flex role or whatever. I think that just bodes even more OP comps, because they're like, oh, I can pick Winston with another like goats comp, and then I'm gonna be this god Winston because I have bonus stats. Like, that just seems kind of stupid. But I'm okay with them adding like a queue, so then you can have one flex player that can play, you know, tank, DPS, support, and then you can just get to choose as it's going on, you know, what they want to pick. Like, that could be good. But they shouldn't get any like bonus things for doing that at all.
Idea, and you can see how maybe if they're considering 6v6 as a better high-end competitive game, this dynamic flex max 2 queue would be probably better suited for a casual experience to just make matches faster and allow you to swap roles perhaps, or at the very least make more creative team compositions in the game without it getting too crazy. 6 DPS, not really the experience people expected from Overwatch, which I think people forget was the case in Overwatch 1 for years. Many games were just kind of unplayable thanks to the number of DPS players you'd have. Now, in general, they're moving forward with 5v5 and aim to try to find a balanced state that is as widely renowned as the October patch from Overwatch 1. To add to Aaron's point there, with it coming so many years down the line, like how many years of development before we see like the peak of what 5v5 can be? Of course, not everyone's going to agree, but as Alec Dawson says, the queue times have gotten better since the Season 11 balance patch. Now, on to talking about 6v6 and the experiments that are forthcoming. They stated that they understand why the community would want the mode to return.
Oh, man, my queue time's still crazy. I mean, I feel like the queues are always fast in lower elo. In higher elo, the queues are still, you know, just as long. We literally watch movies now in between queues. Because it's like, oh, dude, 20-minute queue in, you know, top 50, which is granted, it's going to be that long, but it's like, it's always going to be that long. They're like, the queue times are literally going to be the same from Overwatch, whatever, like 1 to 2. It's just how many people are wanting to play. If the game is fun, more people are going to play. Like, I don't know.
Especially if you are a tank player or an off tank who used to get to take off angles, go for more flank plays. Now tank gameplay is much more homogenous, where you have to hold the main front line, usually always. They talked about the social pressure of everybody wanting you to swap, but of course, as the data pans out, supports are nowhere near swapping as much as they should, considering how much power they have to influence the tank battle themselves. I can tell you that for free as a support player. Then some general thoughts on 6v6. They're in investigation mode, where they're trying to collect data, kind of understand the lay of the land. They went through a few different scenarios or timelines of how it could go down. If it has overwhelming popularity, they're going to respond with all hands on deck. And I say this to you guys with all the love in my heart. If you want this mode to succeed, you better even out those queue times as best as y'all can. When these tests come out, clear your schedules, cancel your dates, don't show up to work. You need to give them the data that this matters. Because as they say, if it isn't so popular, then they'll have to have a more of a nuanced take on it. Like, how much effort should they put towards it? They talked about the open queue format, which has about 10% of all player playtime, which isn't insignificant.
Yeah, I don't play
but if they have to entertain the
that.
idea of having multiple queues, it gets kind of tricky. And I think we all know that the best balancing and design goes towards the main game mode. And if it's relegated as
yeah, I also agree. They can't really have too many different game modes. Like, even with like all their arcade stuff, sometimes you queue for, like, if you don't get your arcade games done like within the first day or two, then you're in like an hour-long queue for Winston volleyball, because who the hell is going to be playing that? So I could see like they don't want to add too many queues, which makes sense. So it's either like, okay, you're going to have maybe 4, max, and then that's kind of it. Open queue or roll queue, delete one, put in arcade. I could also agree with that. That is also a good idea. That is also a good idea. I wouldn't mind them doing that.
As a side mode, that's not what 6v6...
Because if they do 6v6, then you don't need open queue anyways for 5v5. That's literally just takes that one anyways. So, yeah.
6 players want, so get in there and play it when these tests do come out. They talked about the technical side of it, or the workload around it. First of all, they're working through making it optimized for 6v6. Obviously, you can play it in customs now, but it's not optimized for a wide-scale game on all the platforms it's on. But they don't seem to think it's going to take so much work if they do pull the trigger to do it, because it's more going to be taking away abilities rather than adding or reworking many. But they will do a visual pass to try to make sure there's not too much visual clutter with 2 more players on the field. Aaron made an interesting point that sometimes when a player is overloaded, it doesn't matter if they're a little overloaded or way overloaded. They're just overloaded. If there's too much on screen, you're not tracking any of it. It isn't like a sliding scale. You just hit that one point of no return and it's utter chaos. I think a lot of people who like 6v6 probably feel that way. And the few percentage points of it being more manageable in 5v5 doesn't really bear out. Also, I'm of the opinion that because the threats can come from so many different positions on the map, I find 5v5 actually harder to operate in. So on this point, I actually think the slow, deathball-y, poke at the choke gameplay of 6v6 was way easier to understand, at least most of the time.
It was.
Because if you did go off on
5v5, pretty much made the game more deathmatchy, and 6v6, it was like slowly take space, listen to your tank, follow him, they're taking this corner, okay, we got this corner, wait for resources, push in. And then 5v5 is like, all right, DPS, go on the flank. You're going to go get a kill on their DPS. Okay, you're going to go on their supports. Okay, let's all just jump in. Like, 5v5 is a lot more faster paced, so it's a lot harder to understand. Rather than 6v6, it was slower pace. Yeah, it, like, wasn't as fun because they left double shield for 50 million years. But, yeah, like, I don't know. 6v6 is definitely a lot easier to, I think, more people to understand than what 5v5 was. But I will say 5v5 runs better, because it's a little bit more faster paced and people die. If they go back to 6v6, then they need to just make it so people die the same speed. So either like, nerf heals across the board, nerf some HP bars. Like, I want people to actually die like fast, rather than it just like you last 10 minutes without a single person dying in a fight.
On your own, you got blown up anyway. So it was mostly 2 death balls fighting, rather than everyone being a playmaker at the same time from different angles and different positions, and who knows which ability or ult is going to pop off. That's how 5v5 feels. Way more of a shooter game where anyone can have an impact. Whereas in 6v6, well, you're kind of just staring at the tanks, and hopefully one pushes the other out of the way to make space, which is the gameplay we all missed. Right, guys? An additional 6v6 tidbit is that the South Korean region generally seems, according to the developers, to want us to get over the past and just move forward with 5v5. Those regional differences are always kind of interesting to investigate. Obviously, they have to develop the game for everybody anyway, but South Korea is such an interesting region region itself, because they're all the best players and they often have
carry the
very
Overwatch
different attitudes towards the formats of the game. They were always big proponents of open queue, playing it in large numbers, even in competitive open queue when it was a side mode. They seem as a region to be much more open-minded to the byproducts of any of these formats that maybe yields to obnoxious gameplay. I also think that region tends to have a much more complete understanding of Overwatch, whereas even at the higher tiers in North America, the expected base strategy and approach to the game tends to be expecting the path of least resistance, whereas the Koreans tend to view the game of the path to the highest peak potential output, which is why they typically favor skill shots and high output,
the dive
high
comps, like the
execution
actual
comps,
fun
such
comps.
as dive, even in metas where it might be hard to play dive. So long story short, they'll be adapting their effort and workload to 6v6 based on the player interest that's shown. Willing to essentially go all in on it if that seems to be the right call. Keep in mind, I think it will do very well to begin because it's different enough and rare enough. As in, you couldn't play that version of the game for years. And for the novelty alone, people will come back and play it. But is that sustainable for the long term? That's why they're going to have to do multiple tests for longer durations than just a weekend. And while they have some ideas cooking on queue times, apparently, they didn't really say many other than to state an interesting byproduct of why priority passes didn't work in Overwatch 1.
Yeah, I mean, the queue times are going to be a problem because a lot of the tank players, I'd say, would rather play it in 6v6 because it's a lot more fun for you to play in a 6v6 because one, you have your tank duo. So a lot of us miss that from the 6v6. But then even if it's a new player from 5v5, right? They probably like, oh, dude, it feels so much nicer to have another tank that's actually there to support you rather than everyone just blaming you. If you have one bad game, everyone just jumps on the tank saying their shit. Oh, dude, create space. Oh, do this. But everybody's literally just counter the tank, focus the tank. So it's like 5v5 is literally miserable and stressful as shit for a tank player. So no really tanks are going to want to play 5v5 if 6v6 is on the board. So yeah, queue times are going to be ass for anybody else. Nobody's going to be doing the 5v5. You might have, all the ball and hog one tricks playing 5v5 because those are the only ones that, didn't really care for tank duos anyways. So yeah, I mean, I would say 5v5 tank ranked is gonna go down the deep end real quick because all the good tank players are gonna be swapping over to 6v6.
Because as it turns out, even if you improve queue times for DPS, the thing you get is more DPS players. So while we did get more tank players filling to get passes to play DPS, we got even more DPS players to outweigh the benefit mathematically.
I didn't think the priority pass was that good because you were pretty much forcing people to play an off role even if they didn't really want to. I don't mind if people only want to play support, but if you force them to be oh, I need to go play tank, they're literally half of them were just oh, I'm just gonna just throw to get this game over with so I get my priority pass. So I think the priority passes it was a good idea in the beginning, but people would literally just throw to get the game over with fast so then they could just get their priority pass because they didn't care about that rank roll anyways. So I don't think priority passes will be anywhere this is not a good system because people are gonna abuse it and it's just not.
It's sort of like when you add more lanes to a highway, more people go out to drive. So the demand for the thing scales with the supply, which isn't how we would intuitively assume that should work, but is how the behavior panned out in the end. Seeing a lower queue time on damage incentivizes more players to go play damage in the future, creating more damage players over time. That's pretty insane. And trust me, it's one of those systems I really hoped would work. I remember asking for such a system because I wanted that beautiful 2-tank gameplay just for myself. I was there. We wanted them to develop ways in order to make everything work at the same time, and it turns out you can't. So, as the devs say, maybe there is players that are willing to wait for the queue times, which undoubtedly will not be good. We will have to see. We'll have to see if enough players want to go play the killable tank role, whereas opposed to playing the Giga tanks in Overwatch 2, who have a slew of hero shooter buttons. Instead, the 6v6 tanks will have to be tuned down to require resources from your teammates, which of course in gold always goes on to you as you expect. I really can't wait for this test to come out, guys. Can you tell? Like, I'm super excited.
It is going to be hard for the team to balance a lot of the 6v or the 5v5 tanks now into 6v6. So it's pretty much like a whole nother like hard thing, but yeah, I don't know. They could just make 6v6 always open queue, right? And that's like the open queue competitive is 6v6, and then just have like roll queue is for 5v5 and leave it like that. And that's so there's just two queues, and I think that might, you know, not be that bad because it doesn't split it too much. Because once you have multiple queues, it's not going to be good for like every role.
Really, it's all winning for me. Either they're going to make 5v5 better, or they put the game back to 6v6, and the game is way more about strategy, which is where I make my best content. So either way, I'm pretty happy. Guys, that's everything for today's wrap-up video. What did you think of the
Overwatch
interview?
3? I mean, it wouldn't be Overwatch 3 because it would just be bringing back Overwatch 2 to Overwatch 1. But if you think of it as you just add the number, if they change it back, then it's Overwatch 3, I guess. Yeah. But I feel like queue times will only be high at the high ranks. Oh yeah, 100. That's how it's always been. Literally, you would get insta queues if you're in like Diamond, Masters, whatever. Then once you got into like GM plus, you're gonna have a long queue time because the player base isn't that many people aren't playing, which is just granted. So no, I think the queue time, like, I don't know, argument saying that queue times are the problem or whatever, I think that's just baloney, because you're going to always have high queue times at the high ranks, and you're gonna have insta queues in like the middle to low ranks, and that's just, you know, that's how it's always been. Yeah, you might wait 1 extra minute or something, but yeah, I don't think that's really that big of an issue.
So in the comment section down below if you're excited about the direction they're going with the game. The devs seem confident that they're far more able to develop this game than ever before, as they've trained up with on-the-job training, I suppose. So I hope we can see some momentum with the PvP focus in like the next year, now that the devs are kind of reaching their final form, solidifying the identity of this.
Where's our avoid slots? Where's my 10 avoid slots so I can actually make my queues 1 hour long by avoiding all the potatoes? How about that one? Let me inflate my queue times by a lot by avoiding everybody that I don't want on my team. How about that one? That's what make the queue times long, and then we can have an argument here. Players don't have to be that bad anymore for high rank. Tank queue times. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Them, I don't know, the 5v5, 6v6, I'm always going to be biased because I'm a tank player, so I think 6v6 was the most fun. And pretty much now with Overwatch League gone, there's no real reason for the pro scene anyway, so you might as well just make it people play for fun. Of course, you want to like make the queue times fast, so having two different ones is like hard. So I don't know if it has to be one or the other, or just do roll queue is 5v5 and they just leave that separate, and then they have open queue is 6v6 for competitive, and they have those two roles. That's it. That's what they have, and they just, you know, have to balance two different games, but that can, you know, people will be happy both ways there. So they can just swap between the two if, you know, they don't want to, you know, do something one day. I don't know. That's just, I think it'd probably be the best. But I guess we will see. 4-9 with zero build. Yeah. Just have, two different ones. People want to do, have no building. They're on the zero build. People want to do the building. They have that. Yeah. Just have two different ones. Roll queue, 5v5. Open queue, 6v6 competitive. Those are the only two competitive modes. No more the other random baloney-ness. That's what you can queue for. Fixes a lot of the issues. I think queue times will still be decent. And yep, there you go. That's all of the Overwatch. Gaming news. See what they do. Juno comes out soon. Hopefully we get our Void slots, I think, this season as well. How do you bounce the same tank in 5v5 and in open queue? Well, it would be different. They would have when you like go into that queue, it just changes the stats of the character. Like, I don't think it's that hard because it's a whole different game mode, right? So like, if you do Overwatch, like a custom game, right? If you do a custom game, you literally have like separate settings that when you click, you know, one person versus 12, it changes that hero stats. Like if you queue up for the open queue 6v6, it will just have that like stat pool for all the characters, right? And that opening. And then if you queue for the roll queue for 5v5, it has that stat pool. So it's not that hard just for them to have like two separate things when they go in. You learn two different games. Yeah, but some people would just want to play. Yeah, it's not like if people want to learn it, then they will. If people don't want to learn it, then they won't. It's up to them.
Subscriber over here. Morty's gonna add him to the deck because they're cards.
So yeah, it's the same thing like for like the Fortnite. People wanted. I never wanted to do building. That's what deterred me away from ever playing Fortnite. Now they added zero build, so like I would only play zero build. So people want to only do 6v6 because they enjoyed having two tanks. They would just never play the 5v5 game mode, which is completely fine. So people don't, you're not forcing people to learn two different games if they don't want to, but people might want to, so then you just have the option there for them, you know? So, yeah. Yo, Shaga with the 18 months. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. But okay. That looks to be all of that. The last thing is, now that Rivals is done, the other new game that is coming out, I think relatively soon for closed beta, is the Spectre Divide. So we'll go ahead and look at this video real quick. And this is just a brief overview of what this game is. It has a lot of like Shroud, Timmy. They're all just like investors or we're in like the development process, so it's like hopefully it can be pretty good. It's like a 3v3 tack shooter. You have like 2 lives. Sounds interesting. I suck at tack shooters, so I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but I'm gonna go into it, you know, try it out. Hopefully be somewhat decent, but you know, new game is a new game. It's like a Borderlands-y like art style. Yeah, it's pretty much like, it's like CS Valorant with like the slowness. It's just, it's 3v3 and then you have 2 lives essentially. I haven't played it yet, so I don't necessarily know how the 2 lives work, but I know looks like it could be interesting. Yeah, this one you can wishlist it on Steam to get into the closed beta. I believe that's relatively soon. But yeah, so that is a new game that is coming out. If you want to check that out, that is there. But I think that sums up everything that we missed while we were playing Rivals for the last 2 weeks. So yeah, there you go. Go like, comment, subscribe to the YouTubes, watch the Twitch streams, all of that greatness. Till the next one. What is this? Oh, deep dive. Just where they explain the game.
Hey everyone, I'm Lee Horn, game director here at Mountaintop, and I'm super excited to bring you the first look at what we've been working on for the past few years.
Just watch this one from the
Spectre
get-go.
Divide.
Oh, here we go.
Spectre Divide is the competitive 3v3 tactical shooter driven by a genre-evolving feature we call duality. There are 3 players per team, but every player will control a second body called a Spectre that can be freely swapped between at any moment. 1 mind, 2 bodies. With 2 bodies, you'll spend a bigger portion of every round playing the match and racking up kills. If you find yourself staring down the barrel of a sniper rifle moments into the round.
Okay, so we'll get into this, but my thought is, okay, so then if you're just playing one, can somebody just go on the flank and then kill your other character? Is the other character always just going to be there in a physical body, just staring at a wall? So you can go hunting for the other person's body? Or is it once you die, then you get into another respawn?
Your second life will give you a second chance at redemption and payback. Spectre Divide is classic attacker-defender 2-bomb site defusal. So with duality, you can play both sites across the map simultaneously, instantly reinforce teammates, and even cover your own sniper cross with a well-positioned shotgun. Beyond duality, we know the deep nuances of movement and gunplay feel, as well as game balance can make or break a tac shooter. We've been carefully tuning the game from day one through regular community playtests. Additionally, we've partnered with the best in the business, Shroud, to help bring a pro player perspective to the game since early alpha. Shroud brings unparalleled genre experience and unique insights as a streamer and community builder.
It's going to be really, really interesting to see like what strategies these highly skilled players are going to be able to achieve. So it's definitely built with like hardcore tactical players in mind, competitive gamers like myself. I feel so cool like being able to utilize myself twice, you know? So many stacking strategies that just feels endless, and that's personally what I love. When I was playing against these guys, they were freaking smoking me. And once I saw all of the plays that they were doing with their Spectre, I instantly wanted to do that, and my brain was kind of racing on like, what else can I do?
Oh my God.
Conceptual work on Spectre Divide started in late 2019. We played a ton of competitive 5v5 and 4v4 growing up, but there's a special place in our heart for small team formats, like ranked doubles, wingman, trials, and even old school 3v3 scrims set up in IRC. But all these formats were just side modes. None of these were full games designed and tuned around small team competitive play. And that was really the spark for Spectre. Could we deliver the depth of 5v5, but with the intimacy of 3v3? The perfect game to climb with 2 friends. Something that felt like a love letter to CS, but at the same time, totally fresh. We didn't know exactly what that game looked like when we started, but we set out to find it. Today, Mountaintop is 70 passionate devs working fully remote. We're completely independent, and we're self-publishing Spectre Divide. This is truly a labor of love for us. We built the game that we wanted to be playing on nights and weekends, and now we're excited to be developing it in partnership with you.
Spectre Divide takes place in the year 2100 in the thriving city of Breakwater. Breakwater is a gritty, booming metropolis comprising 9 unique districts, each with their own culture and personality. A popular underground sport called Santai uses a military technology codenamed Duality, which enables the competitors to play using 1 mind and 2 bodies. Santai battles can pop up anytime, anywhere, and are beloved by the rabid fan base throughout the city. You play as a rookie, fighting for fame, fortune, and legacy in your quest to become the next Santai champion.
Santai champion.
Let's take you through the major game pillars that define Spectre. Pillar 1, duality. Duality brings a new dimension to what's possible in tactical shooters with entirely new gameplay and fresh playmaking potential. We've balanced duality to ensure it is a strategic positioning tool and not a Twitch skill teleport. Duality has been threaded through every aspect of the game, from maps to utility equipment to the pre-round weapon shop, so expect to evolve your tac shooter thinking in a variety of ways. 2, tense tactical gunplay. Spectre Divide.
Dude, so you're gonna really have to, if you're watching somebody on one angle, you really have to like, you don't know if they're gonna just peek from the left side right after peeking from the right, because they can just teleport there. That, like, you really have to just be watching every single angle 24/7.
Features aim down sights or ADS gunplay that gives players true to crosshair accuracy. More importantly, ADS allows for moving and shooting freedom, so no need to stand still to get those sweet, sweet headshots. Of course, spray patterns are all deterministic, so mastering your weapons of choice is still the key to domination.
Okay, so they have
Spectre
CS
Divide.
spray
3,
patterns. Okay.
an arsenal of future tech. Each match you'll choose from one equipment set provided by a different sponsor.
Marvel
that
Rivals is
defines
over,
your
yeah.
role and gives you new tools to outplay the competition. Sponsor kits will allow you to take space, scout enemy positions, set up traps, or support teammates to tip the scales in your favor. There are no over-the-top ultimates to act as an insta-win button. Skill reigns supreme. We've designed much of our equipment around duality, so expect to think about utility options with 2 bodies in mind.
Pillar 4, a visceral, anime-inspired world. The style and world building for Spectre has its roots in sci-fi comic book art and classic Japanese cell animation of the 90s. Our goal was to create in-game content that looks exactly like our concept sketches. We created a style that balances clean graphical aesthetics against a visceral combat experience. It presents fast, clean reads, perfect for executing next-level tac shooter plays.
Pillar 5, regular community competition.
Oh,
most of us play competitive games for that human interaction, but this genre is entirely missing social systems that actually bring players together to fight for something bigger. In Spectre, we've put regular community competition at the core with crews. You'll have a chance to achieve infamy by leading your crew to the top of its division and be immortalized as one of Santai's champions. With crews, every match matters. Pillar 6, forge your legacy. We're also big believers in the power of legacy. And in Spectre, you'll create your own pair of heroes or villains and write your legacy in the streets of Breakwater.
Different abilities?
And when we talk about legacy, it's all rooted in competition. You'll climb the ladder in ranked play and, of course, conquer your division with your crew. And while Spectre is free to play, we'll have a bunch of kick-ass cosmetics available for purchase that let you flex your unique style on the competition. We have more big plans for Legacy post-launch.
Those skins did not look like I'd want to spend money on those. I'm sorry, man. Every single one of those, I did not care for. I want to spend money on a skin that better look insane. Like, dude, I want it to look sick. Like, maybe the last one was the only one, but those other ones.
Free to play, we'll have a bunch of kick-ass cosmetics available for purchase that let you flex your unique style.
Like maybe this one has some extra little animations on it, you know?
We have more big plans for Legacy post-launch, more ways for your unique journey to be shared with the community.
So I hope they go down the route that Valorant did, and it's just weapon skins, and then it's not like character model skins. Character model skins are nice, but I think it like starts messing with like, you know, certain skins get like OP hiding in certain corners and stuff because it's not like uniform. So as long as they just keep it on weapon skins and not character skins, I think that'd be good for tac shooter.
From all of us at Mountaintop, thank you so much for taking the time to check out Spectre Divide. As a small group of lifelong tactical shooter players, we hope our game becomes your next 10,000-hour obsession. Head over to playspectre.com to check it out for yourself. Good luck, and see you in Breakwater.
See you there. 10,000 hours. Yeah, I've spent more than that in Overwatch. Nice. Well, there you go. Now that is Spectre Divide. There we go. Now we're caught up on everything. Everything game-related, game news. Now you like and comment, subscribe to all the YouTube videos, watch the Twitch streams every day. See you guys there. All right. Till next video, guys. Peace. Bye-bye.